NewsNation political contributor and Democratic strategist Kurt Bardella joining the conversation now. A lot to talk about. Let's start there, though, because we talked about Donald Trump and the criticisms of his campaign. This has been the one of the Harris campaign. Will she do an interview soon?
Of course she will. Again, when you are on a winning streak, and we have seen Kamala Harris's campaign open up and away from a level of success that modern American political history has never seen, you don't interrupt that. You keep the flow going, especially as you head into the Democratic National Convention. It's obvious that she will, as the campaign progresses, take questions, engage with reporters, do the sit-downs we're all accustomed to seeing. She's obviously already agreed to participate in the debate on September 10th.
So it's one debate, by the way, Kurt, you think, as opposed to the three that Trump talked about?
Well, it's interesting because we've seen Trump go from, I'll debate Joe Biden anywhere, anytime, any place, to then it became Kamala Harris, and he retreated from that and said he would only do a debate on Fox News. But then after seeing the amount of momentum, coverage, saturation that the Harris-Walz campaign is getting, he's now desperate to debate her, throwing out this, let's do 3 debates all of a sudden number. And it just goes to show that no matter what Republicans say, they're clearly really worried about the Harris campaign's success, because the person that's calling for the most debates usually is the one who's behind.
No, and the thing, that's probably true, even though Trump said he's ahead. But, the numbers and the momentum that we talked about last hour shows it's on her side, and she may be ahead. Either that or it's a toss-up, but she definitely has the momentum. We get that. On the point, though, about the interviews, Kurt, I do think it's interesting, because you're talking, as you should, I suppose, about as a political strategist and saying, hey, why would you do it now? Wait as long as you can. Things are going well. Reporters, and I also think the American people look at that and say, well, you know what, we'd like to hear from her sooner rather than later because, for example, somebody brought up fracking earlier in Pennsylvania. She has changed her position on that. All right, let's explain it. Why? What's the evolution? Why did you change? Other issues where she used to say one thing, now you're saying another thing. Those are the types of questions that don't come up, right, in rallies and TV commercials. So she there's a lot to answer for in a short campaign. So why not do it sooner rather than later? Doesn't she owe the people that?
Well, I mean, again, this is someone who is accessible to the people. She's speaking to tens of thousands of people.
Right, but not being questioned by those people.
Campaign.
They're just cheering in the crowd. You know that.
Well, I'll put it this way. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We've seen her trajectory just go up, up, and up. So, again, what do you have to gain, really, Leo? Is there anyone really sitting out there going, gee, I don't know how I feel about Kamala Harris, but if she sat down with insert news anchor here, right. That would change my mind. Like, just as a normal person, I don't really believe that. And honestly, we live at a time now where so much information is consumed in so many different mediums and channels. This isn't, the 1970s and 80s where all of America tuned in every night to watch the news.
You're right.
As much as we wish that were the case. That's not how they get information anymore. There's YouTube, there's social media, there's all these different platforms. They're more likely to get information or listen to a podcast that they like than, watching a broadcast news station. Now, obviously, we all hope that she sits down as soon as possible with someone at NewsNation to have that conversation.
Yeah, exactly right. But it's interesting. We all have biases in all of this. And I think people say, the media's not asking her tough questions. That's what J.D. Vance. Everyone in the media would love to ask her questions, and most people in the media would love to ask her tough questions. So the bias of the media is to say, well, we want an interview, but it's interesting. You look at it through a political lens, right? You look at campaigns and what's a winning strategy. So you're saying take that hit is essentially what I'm not putting words in your mouth, but you're saying if that's the hit, they want to criticize us for that. I'm willing to take that hit. I know she should be doing interviews because it's to our political advantage not to. We're winning right now.
Right. Well, because you look at it this way. As soon as she does the sit-down interview, this narrative goes away. There's a shelf life on this. Nobody voting in November is going to care whether or not she did the interview at the end of July, August, or early September. It will not matter. I would rather have the conversation of if the worst thing you have to say about Kamala Harris is she didn't sit down with the local news or the network news versus the other people who you're like, they're really weird. They're really unhinged. They're saying racist, sexist, nonsense things. Donald Trump, I just watched that press, I guess we'll call it a press conference, where he's just making things up. It's word salad. People should be watching that going, is this the guy that should be running for office right now? Because he's not all there, clearly. I would much rather have the conversation of, well, Harris didn't sit down and talk to the so-and-so versus, did you hear what Donald Trump said? He's not doing himself any favors.
I get it from your point of view. I still like to see her do an interview, but I get it from your point of view.
And she should do an interview, and she should do it on NewsNation.
That's exactly right. We agree on that. Thank you, Kurt. Always good to see you. Kurt Bardella.